How you doing, folks? Scott here with Dorsten Custom Firearms, and as promised, we are starting in with some custom Smith & Wesson work. We are going to be doing a level 2 trigger and action job. It's that one there, and if you didn't catch that, don't worry, I'm going to post that in the description as well, so that you get an idea what we're doing. So what we've got is we have a Smith & Wesson model 686-6 6-round revolver. It's got the 2.5-inch barrel on it, and we're going to be doing our level 2 trigger and action job with recontouring the trigger, putting in the crane lock, beveling the chamber mouths, polishing the chambers. We're also going to do a couple other things that are not in the level 2 package. We're going to be changing the crown of the gun to something, just a little bit fancy. And then we're going to install the Hogue Extreme cylinder catch on that. So we're going to be doing that. Today what we're going to do is we're going to break down the gun, and I'm going to give you kind of an overview of the tools that we're going to be using. So let's get to some of the tools real quick, and I'll bring you down here. There we go. Okay, so from Brownells, we have a reamer for the yoke. This goes down the center of it, cleans out any burrs, makes it nice and smooth. This reamer is for the length of the yoke. We're going to reduce the end shake on it, and we use this if we end up reducing it too much or it's too tight. We take a little off to fit it properly. We have a tool for, make sure these are coming out well. Okay, that's what we're going to use to stretch the yoke if we need to. So we have a Power Custom jig. This is for doing the crane detent on the mill, and we'll be showing you that process as well. This is again by Power Customs, and I'm not even sure they still make this one. So that's definitely something I'm going to be hanging on to. We have a Power Custom trigger stoning jig. This is the Mark 1, I believe they call it. They have 2 versions of it for different types of triggers. And then you'll recognize this one from a video before. This is going to be so that we can straighten the ejector rod, make sure that it's running true, so that we're not going to have any problems with that. We have some files that are specially designed for the Smith & Wesson. This one here is for the hand window on the inside, and this one here is for the cylinder stop window. And that's just for deburring it and just making sure that we're going to have nothing interfering there. Okay, parts. Let's bring it back over here. Okay, parts. We are going to be using a Wolf power rib mainspring on this. We're going to need one of those. We're going to be using an extended firing pin. This one is from Power Customs. Power Customs makes them. Cylinder and Slides makes them. Apex makes them. All of them are good. I haven't had a problem with any of them. So any one you like will work just fine. We are going to be putting in a new cylinder stop. That's that piece right there. This one is cut out of tool steel. It is not MIM. It is not cast. It's one solid piece, and it's cut on a wire EDM. And that one's by Cylinder and Slide, and that's going to help us get a really nice lockup on that. We're going to be replacing the rebound spring. Again, this is a Wolf product. This is the 11-pound rebound spring. We're going to be using that. And we are also going to be replacing the strain screw for the Smith & Wesson, and I'll explain to you why when we get to that. It's actually more important than a lot of people believe it is. 2 parts aren't here yet. We're going to be putting in a new hand. If you're not familiar with that, the hand is the part inside the gun. It's in this window right here, if you can see that. Let's get some lights. There you go. You can see that window right there. That's where the hand comes through, and that engages the ratchet on the cylinder, and that's what makes the cylinder turn. We're going to be replacing that one with a new one that is, again, tool steel, wire EDM cut, solid piece, not cast, or anything like that. So we're going to be replacing those two parts, and then we're going to be replacing the double action sear. We're going to be using the factory one for that, because nobody makes an aftermarket one. But the factory one is perfectly fine, but I'll be showing you why we're going to be replacing that when we get to it. Okay, so those are the tools. Of course, I got my Smith & Wesson kit, my Brownells pack that has all the correct size screw bits that I need. So let's get started with the breakdown. So again, gun is empty, of course. We're always working on empty guns. And, you know, one more thing on safety on that. When you're working on a gun, there is absolutely no reason to have live ammo anywhere on your workbench. Just get it off the workbench. There's no reason to have it there. You don't need it. You're not going to be checking anything with it. If you do need to check if something fits, like with a round, get dummy rounds. Don't mess around with live ammo when you're inside working on your bench. Don't need them, okay? So there you go. That's safety. So, close that up. First step, of course, is to get the grips off. Whoops. I scratched myself a little there. Okay, these are the Hogue grips. They come right off. Real easy. Get this thing out of your way. You don't need it there right now. So, let's get those out of the way. Okay, so here we go. One of the first steps, and this is very important, and I want to make sure I'm showing you. Okay, before you take the side plate off, it is important to take the strain off of the mainspring. Okay, do that first, and I'm going to show you why that's important when we get inside the gun. So, you don't need to remove the screw, you just need to take the strain off so that there's no pressure on the mainspring. Okay? Just like that. Alright. So, now we're going to take the screws out. Again, making sure that you have screwdriver bits that are the correct size, and that's why I ordered the kit that's specifically for the Smith & Wesson from Brownells, because they are all the correct size for the different screws that you need. And you're not going to goober up the screw slots at all. Okay, they fit very well, and they work properly. I highly recommend the screwdriver bits from Brownells. They have a lifetime warranty on them. They're made right here in the good old US of A. Sure, yeah, this is all coming out okay. And if you break them, Brownells is great about it because you just send it back to them and they replace it. No questions asked. 100% satisfaction guarantee. It's a great thing. Okay, so with these screws, now if you're working on an older Smith & Wesson, okay, I want to show you some differences. Two of these screws on this Smith & Wesson are identical. They are the same length, the same size, they have the same head. They're identical. That's these two back ones here. There's no problem there. If you're dealing with an older one, okay, the rear screw here is flat. It doesn't have a dome on it like these do, okay? So you're going to want to keep that one separate. It goes into the back one here. Always goes there. Now on the older ones, these two screws now, see on the new one, it has a spring-loaded plunger on it, like that, okay? And that goes in the front, and that keeps tension on your yoke so it doesn't slide out of the gun when you open it up. On the older guns, it has a screw that's just like one of these here that's been cut to size so it's the correct depth. So if you're working on an older gun that has the flat one back here and these two look the same, keep these separate, because if you take this one and put it into that hole, you're going to end up putting too much pressure on the yoke, and it's going to make it hard to open, and you can actually end up galling the metal on it, and you don't want to do that. So keep track of your screws if you're working on an older one. On this one, it's a brand new gun. You're not going to have any problem. There's no way to mix them up. There's no danger there at all. But on an older one there is, so keep them separate and keep track of where they go. Okay, so now getting the side plate off, and this is one of my biggest things that I've seen out there on YouTube with people doing this, and they're doing it wrong. If you see somebody, if you're watching a video and you see somebody come in here and try and pry this up, stop the video and move on. That guy does not know what he's doing, and he's going to damage the gun. One, he's going to leave marks inside of there. You know, the edges of the screwdriver are going to go and just dig into the metal, and it's ugly as hell, and it's not the proper way to do it. Plus, when you do it that way, you can actually warp the side plate. Okay, so how do we get them off? Well, we take that harmonically balanced brass and plastic hammer from Brownells, scientifically balanced, high grade stuff here. You know, no substitutes. Always get these hammers. Okay, you get the gun, whatever your strong hand is. You know, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to use a hammer in my right hand. Put your thumb across here. You don't need to hold it down. You're just trying to keep it from flying off. And you take the handle of the hammer, and you just tap. And see, it's already popping up. One more, and it's loose. That's it. That's all it takes. It comes right off. And see, the spring just fell out too. So that's now out. That's the factory spring. And your side plate is off. Okay. Now I can explain to you why let's put the spring back in real quick, because it's kind of important. Whoops. So these newer guns, all kinds of these parts are, are Legoed together, for lack of a better word. There you go. Now that's in properly. Okay. Okay. Now, the reason I took the strain off of the spring is because of this pin right here. This is the pivot pin for the hammer. Okay, hopefully that's coming out well. Okay, it is. So, with the full pressure on the spring, with the side plate off, the pivot pin is only supported on one side. That's over here. With the side plate on, it's supported by two sides. It rides inside here, and it's supported on two sides. Okay, with it off, it's only supported on one side. And what I see a lot of people do is they have the strain on the spring, and then they start working the action, and you're putting strain on that pivot pin, but now it's not supported on both sides. You run a chance of breaking that pivot pin off. It sucks. Now, it's not going to happen every time. It's not going to happen the first time. It's not going to happen the second. It may not happen for quite a while, but at some point that will break. And it sucks because pretty much the only and best way to get it fixed is to take it, send it back to Smith & Wesson. They can re-weld it on. A gunsmith can do it, but you know what? I prefer to send them to Smith & Wesson to do it because they have the proper jig to make sure everything is aligned properly, and it's safer to send it back to them for that particular item. But if you take the strain off the spring, you should never have a problem doing that. Okay? Alright, so we're going to remove the spring now. The next part to come out is the hammer block. That one right there. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. To get the hammer out, you pull the trigger back, and it's going to push it back, and then you just slide it right off, just like that. Okay. Now, this part here is called the rebound. Okay. It's what pushes the trigger back into place and allows the hammer to go back into place and keeps the hammer out of the way of the firing pin. It's got all kinds of different purposes. It is held in with spring tension, and that's back on this pin here. There is a special design tool, and you can get these from Brownells. Again, Now, I've seen it done a lot of different ways. Jerry Micklick used a ballpoint pin. Kudos, great. This makes it so much easier, and I believe it's safer, and you're not going to worry about damaging anything. So let's see what the best way to do this is. Not really a good way from that angle, is it? Let me change up the angle here, see if I can get you a better look. Okay, let's see if we can do it like this. Okay, here we go. All right, so insert it into the back, just like that, and it's out. It just popped right out like that. I usually like to keep a little bit more control than that, but that's not too bad. All right, so now the next step. Okay, removing the trigger. We want to pull back on the hand. This is that part I was telling you about. This is the hand right here. And the hand is what pushes up on the ratchet and turns the cylinder. So we just pull back on that, keep control of it with one hand, and then push the trigger out. Hopefully this is coming out okay. And there you go. Trigger's out. And we have now the cylinder stop. Now this part right here, that's the cylinder stop. Some people call it a bolt. Smith & Wesson catalog calls it a cylinder stop, so that's what I'm calling it. Okay, and if you don't have a set of dental picks, invest in some. They're very handy. I use them all the time, especially with my big paws. It's really helpful to get into places. And again, so what you need to do, I recommend doing this with the cylinder in, because it gives a little bit of down pressure on the cylinder stop, so it's already got a little bit of down. So you need to come in here and you need to push it down and kind of work it to where it's going to catch. Okay, see, like it caught right there, and then get underneath it and give it a little push up, another little push up. Okay, now when you get it about halfway like that, now be aware there is a spring. Let me see if I can get in right there. You can see the end of the tool. There's a spring right there. You need to keep track of that. Remember, springs are air soluble. You don't want to lose them, so kind of work that up a little bit, just like that. And it's going to pop just like that, and now you can remove it fairly safely. Most of the tension is now off of it, and there you go. It's out. Okay, I'm going to remove the cylinder. It's pushing the cylinder catch forward and pushing that out. You pull the yoke out, and there you go. That's out. We're almost done. The next part, we're going to remove the cylinder catch. Don't always have to do this. Oh, hey, looky here. Looky there, the gun is talking to us already. Look at this. Let me see if I can get this to come out on camera. Okay, right here, there's a mark. There's a little scratch mark right here. So the trigger's had a little bit of drag going on. And what that's from, yep, here's the culprit right here. I need to come up a little bit. Here, too far down. Back it up. Okay. So what that culprit is on the hand, the pin, the pivot pin, is coming through and is sticking through a little bit too far. Hopefully that's coming through and you guys can see that. Just going to rotate it a little bit and let you take a look at that. And so that's rubbing on the frame right here. Okay, so that's something that we'll need to watch for. We're going to replace this part anyway, but when we put the new one in, we'll make sure that it's not sticking all the way through like that, so that it's not going to rub on the frame, because that'll cause drag, and you don't want drag because that's going to ruin your trigger pull. Okay, so we're going to remove the cylinder stop. It's very simple. There's a screw right here. Insert your screwdriver. Unscrew there. Okay. There you go. Cylinder stop. Cylinder catch is off, and now we need to remove the actual catch. what you're going to do is you're going to pull back on this a little bit and you're going to just push it up. Now, when you're doing that, back here, there is a spring and plunger. And what did we say about springs? They are air soluble, so we want to make sure that we keep track of that spring. Put your finger back here on it as you're pushing this out. Okay, so, all right. Sometimes you can pivot them out. And this one doesn't want to go that way. So what you got to do is you got to pull. There's two ways to do it. You can either try and push it in from the back, get the back to go up, and sometimes it doesn't like to do that. There's just not enough room. Tolerances sometimes are too tight. So you're going to pull back on it. Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, well, like I said, parts are aerosoluble, so now I got to go hunt down those two parts because they just went off into behind me. So that's one of those things where that's what happens when you work on these things. Just be prepared for it. But the gun is now disassembled, and that's where I'm going to leave you today with the breakdown. And I wish I could find those two parts real quick, but it's going to be a minute for me to find them. So I can show them to you, but I'll show them to you later. Okay, so that is all we have today. That's going to end our video. When I come back, we're going to start with the recontouring of the trigger. And what that is you see how it's squared up right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to round it over and just make it nice and smooth and a lot more comfortable on your finger. It really makes a nice difference when you're using the gun a lot. Makes it a lot more comfortable. So tune in next week for the next step. We're going to recontour the trigger. We're going to start with some of the polishing, and we'll go from there. This is Scott with Dorsten Custom Firearms, your friendly neighborhood gunsmith, and I'll see you next time.